Good day and welcome to another episode of Drinking with Don. To recap, this is the last episode of this series where I've been rating many beer in the Cascadia Beer Advent Calendar that my good friends David and Jared put together from Cascadia to News Bay with me, and we put together this 2-4 case of tall cans, one for every day of December, well, one from the 1st to the 24th of December, alright? So today is day 21, like I say. Last episode, so we're going to do beers 21 through 24 and then rank them in order. And the beer for December 21st is from a joint collaboration, maybe that's redundant, it's from a collaboration with Whistle Boy Brewing and Small Gods Brewing. It's the second collaboration for Small Gods, and it's also the second beer from Whistle Boy. Now the first Whistle Boy beer I had was called Downpour, and I didn't like it that much, so I'm a little worried about that. Then again, one of my other beers I had with the Small Gods was amazing, so I don't know, we'll see what happens. This one is called 13 Moons. It's called a Peninsula Lager, which means it's a lager specific to the peninsula, the Saanich Peninsula. And that's where Sydney lies, for example. It's 4.5% alcohol. I don't know what the IBUs are, it doesn't say. Now, the can and the website say something like this: made with ingredients sourced around the Saanich Peninsula. This lager features corn and barley from Field 5 Farms, fresh kelp from Cascadia Seaweed, and fresh hops from Deep Cove, combining to deliver a crisp, refreshing taste with a subtle, briny finish. Now, I should throw out that all those names I just mentioned are all just particular to the peninsula, the Saanich Peninsula, including Deep Cove. I used to go scuba diving there many, many years ago. And of course, seaweed, which should be interesting. So it's got kelp, it's probably a salty flavor to it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Let's give it a shot. Oh, I should also say that on the website, the collaboration talks about, it's the collaboration, they call it the Small Boys Whistle Gods collaboration. So you see what they did there? They mixed the two names together, and it's fun. And it says they showcase this to show that the best that our island has to offer. So, cool. All right, let's go in. Wow. That is a beautifully clear beer. Look at that. And it smells like it should. Refreshing, light, bit effervescent. This has potential to be a really good beer. That's what I do. It is pretty good. Not sure it's really good yet, but it is definitely light and refreshing. And quaffable. Oh yeah. You know, I didn't like that Downpour because it just couldn't make up its mind, or it just doesn't taste right. This tastes right. If somebody gave me one of these, I go, oh, I like this. I want another one, please. The bubbles are dying down, but it's by no means flat. It still is quite nice. The hops are mild, but they're there. They're, again, for me, I notice hops with that bit of bitterness, a bit of hoppy flavor more at the back of my mouth and the roof of my mouth, oddly enough. Back of my tongue, I should say. And the tip of my tongue is dancing a bit from the effervescence. It's nice. This would be lovely in the summer. I don't know if this is a seasonal, or pardon me, it's a collaboration, so it's not a regular beer. But yeah, I think they're on to something on this one too. That tells me if you have Small Gods involved with your brewery, with your beer, it's going to be good. That's what that tells me. I think I'm liking Small Gods even more now. That's 2 winners from them. As I've been drinking this, I've been starting to get the kelp. They call it briny finish, but I'm going to assume this is the kelp I'm tasting. And I continue to read it like this. Carolyn had a sip of it too, and she said, oh, this is good. What's great about it is it's a nice, clean, simple, but very enjoyable lager. This is a lager that satisfies. Once again, Small Gods and this time Whistle Boy have done it right. So now it becomes a matter of scoring it. And it's definitely going to be in the 8s. And the other one I did with Small Gods was the collaboration with Ace Brewery out of Courtney, and I gave that an 8.7. It was more of a hazy, and it was very finely made. This is very finely made. You know what? I can't make up my mind if it's better or worse, so I'm going to do the same thing. It's going to be an 8.7. I like it that much. Really, if you can get some, and you like a thirst-quenching, lighter beer that is delicious, you gotta try this. December 22nd, another lighter beer. This is from the Ile Sauvage Brewing Company out of Victoria. So, just like the last one. This one's called an Imposter, a German Pilsner. And now before I talk about the beer, because there's not much written on it, oh, and it is 5.2% alcohol, don't know the IBU. The brewery says this: Ile Sauvage is French for Wild Island. Well, I knew that. And it's a dual reference to the wilderness of Vancouver Island and our main focus on Belgian-style wild ales and sour beers. Ruh-roh. We make use of Kveik, Lactobacillus, and Brettanomyces fermentations, as well as secondary fermentations with fruit. Well, that definitely explains the sour features of theirs, because those are some things that are used for how you make sour type beer. You don't just add vinegar, although to me that's what it tastes like. And there are some Belgian, I would call wild beers and sours, well they call sours, that are not that sour, but they definitely have a different yeasty, different flavor. One of my very favorite beers, some call a sour, is Orval, but I don't find it sour at all, but it's very different from other beers. But let's find out about this one. This one is not supposed to be sour. Maybe I went off on a tangent there. The can says dry hot Pilsner with Kveik and Mandarin Bavaria, whatever that is. So let's find out. Okay, it's not settling down that quickly, so we might as well go in with what we got. It's an interesting pour, isn't it? I must have done it wrong. Okay, I can definitely smell different yeast in here. And this does remind me of some of the Belgian flavors. So I'll give them that. It smells Belgian and it smells yeasty. A little citrusy too. Going in. Okay. It does remind me of a Belgian, but I wouldn't call it sour. But definitely maybe on the wild side. It's not clear and crisp like a traditional Pilsner, so they've done something to it. And it does have a bit of fruitiness, and I apologize for the burping because you can see how much foam I'm drinking to get to the beer. It's funny, when you just taste the foam, I just quaffed some foam, you definitely get the hoppiness of it. More so than when you're drinking the rest of the beer and you're getting all those other flavors. From just the foam, I get hops. You know what, this does remind me a little bit of an Orval, which is one of my favorite beers. So, it's not wrong. It's not wrong. I'd be surprised to call it a German Pilsner. The underpining, I guess the Kveik or the underlying flavor is there from a German Pilsner, but there's so much more going on. I would not go, if I found this in Germany, I'd be very surprised. Maybe that's why it's called an Imposteur, because it's a fake one. I don't know. Notice I'm representing the Royal Canadian Air Force with this shirt here. It's also, it says here, RCAF Pipes and Drums, because I used to be a member of that pipe band way back when we lived in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. I'm obviously stalling because I'm trying to make up my mind on this. Alright, I've spent quite a bit of effort trying to determine where I'm at with this beer. And the more I drink it, the more it reminds me of one of my favorite beer, Orval, which in fact is this guy right here. We can get him here in my favorite place, Cascadia. And this has the same characteristics, a little foamier. So yeah, it's not quite as the same. It's not quite as good either, but it's close. Yeah, it's got that edge to it that works. Sometimes I've had beer that it's fighting itself. This is not fighting itself. This is actually, the flavors work together between the yeasty flavor, the hops, the richness, and it is a rich beer. So, looking at my other scores, and I'm surprising myself with this one. It may be surprising you too, but I'm going to give it a score of 9.2. I really like it. It's surprising me. Again, the more I drink it, the more I think, yeah, I could have another one of these. Here we are, the second last day of the calendar, 2 days before Christmas, the 23rd of both the calendar and December. So, Today's beer has potential to be pretty cool. And let me tell you why, because it's a collaboration from four breweries. It's sponsored, or the prime brewer is Steel and Oak Brewing out of New Westminster. That's on the mainland of British Columbia, near Vancouver, sort of more or less part of the greater Vancouver area, suppose. Anyway, the beer is called Hype, and it's listed as a dry Irish stout at 4.4% alcohol. So that's not one of the higher alcohol contents, but then if you think about it, a Guinness, which is some would say is not really a stout, but it's only 4.2 or 4.4. So I mean, it's not wrong to have a lower alcohol stout. Now, the brewery notes are massive on this, and I'm not going to read them all. But what this does go on to say is it's a combination or a collaboration with Daggerad. We've had one of those beer in the calendar, and they're great. Small Gods, 2 good beer, and Whistleboy, at least 1 good collaboration. So those are the 3 plus Steel and Oak Brewing. And so they say they're trying to go for something different. Full flavored, but not strong in alcohol. Because sure, they said they can do a 10% plus Imperial Stout, but they don't want to. They want to do something that's drinkable, quaffable, but very flavorful. And so what they go on to say is we took inspiration from the most famous brewer of a dry Irish Stout by taking a portion of the mash and souring it overnight before adding it back into the kettle. I think they're referring to Guinness, by the way. All this extra work for just a little twang and a little je ne sais quoi that adds depth and subtle complexity. So they talk a little bit more about the hops. They have an English hop called EKG, Sabro hop, and so on. And it's even supposed to have a whisper of coconut. Now, it goes on to say easy drinking but never boring. Starts rich and full and ends with a dry, roasty finish with a whisper of sourness. Cocoa, coffee, and light graininess aroma, low carbed for creamy mouthfeel and smooth drinking. I mean, that sounds pretty cool. So let's do it. I mean, it's a cool can. That's what we got. Definitely has a wonderful roasted aroma to it. Some hops, but I'm getting more roasting. I'm getting more malt. Let's go in. Oh, they're not wrong. This has a lot of flavor. It does have a lot of flavor. A little on the bitter side. And I'm getting that I wouldn't call it sour. I would say it's a twang. It's a tang. So far, it's exactly as advertised. It's quite nice. And there's nice bubblies to it. It's also got a bit of flatness. It's hard to describe because there's bubbles, but then it tastes, on the tongue, it tastes flat, which is weird. It's not bad. It's just different. A lot of roasting. I do get coffee, just a bit of coffee. While I'm impressed, they can take a relatively lower alcohol beer and turn into something that tastes this good. I'm wearing my sweatshirt for Les Durs Menés. Hard workers. It's, I don't know if you'll see it on the back here. It says, Je peux pas, j'ai carnaval de Cotigny. This is my sweatshirt I got from doing Belgian carnivals with my Belgian buddies over the years. And yeah, didn't do it last year and may not do it this year either. But I am going to Belgium in 2 months. Absolutely. Going to hang out with the buddies, do some piping, and maybe some more drinking. Go figure. I've been sipping and cogitating. And whereas the flavor is good, strong when you start, as you go on, well, not only the finish with each swallow, but even in general, I find it weaker. I find it a little, where I described as flat, maybe that was the wrong word, but it just is not as gotcha as it could be. Now, that could be a function of the lower alcohol, but could also be a function of just that's just the way it is. I mean, still a really good beer. But is it a great beer? To me, if this to be in the 9s, it would have to have more of that strong finish. It would have to have more of that wow factor. For example, thinking of that beer a few ago that I said was bold. I gave it a good score, even if it was in the 8s, because it was bold. This is not bold. It's flavorful? Yes. It's well made? Yes. Is it a wow? No. So comparing this with other beer, yes, it will be in the 8s because I do like it. It is a well-made beer. I like that it's a collaboration. Oddly enough, this is also a vegan-friendly beer. I saw that on the can. Anyway, I racked this up against some of the other collab beers, and it's not quite there, even though it's got potential. I'm going to give it still a strong, solid score of 8.6. So, 1 beer to go. I wonder what it's going to be. Cheers. Today is Christmas Eve, so therefore the last beer in the calendar. It's too bad they don't make 25 packs, because then I could have had one on Christmas Day, but that's all right. It's a 24 pack case, and here we are. Today's beer is from Bridge Brewing Company out of North Vancouver. They even call themselves North Shore Vancouver, but it's North Vancouver is the mailing address. And the beer is called Santa's Sack. And I think they misspelled sack, but anyway, it's listed as a golden strong ale at 10% alcohol, 30 IBU. So it's going to be a strong one. And given that the name is Santa's Sack, I'm thinking it's a Christmas style beer or a specialty beer. And here's what it goes on to say on the can. It says, here is a beer full of treats, with aroma notes of fruit, spice, and pepper. Well, I'll put my notes here. From the Belgian yeast, a clean bitterness from the German hops, and roundness from the malt. This beer is a treat. At 10% alcohol by volume, Santa's Sack has enough kick to keep Santa going through the night. Well, no doubt about that. And there's also an interesting note about the brewery itself. It says, we're big on making delicious beers and food that satisfies both you and our planet. No, that's the thing. We take a zero waste approach when it comes to beer making. Seriously, zero. We make nearly no garbage. 99% of everything that comes into the brewery either goes out in bottles to be consumed, eaten, or recycled, and used for other things. Well, that's a neat philosophy, and why not? Sure, that's cool. And that's Whiskers in the background howling, by the way, and curious what the other noise is. So let's, I'm going in. Yeah, I smell, I'll go with that. I say banana, but it's definitely fruit. It's a bit of yeast. Let's give it a shot. I'm excited. Oh my, wow. That is a rich beer. Not just because of the alcohol content, but there's a lot of flavor in that. Maybe there's a relationship. I'm getting the spice now. Definitely getting the fruit, and I'm getting rich, smooth, sweet. There's a touch of bitterness, must be from the hops, just at the end. After your mouth has had this glorious flavor, you can tell where I'm going with this. Then it settles down, you get just a bit of hoppiness at the back, at the end. Even at 10% alcohol, this tastes like more. Whee! I'm just piping tonight. I could have another one of these. I like this. I like this a lot. This is a complex, rich, smooth beer, and it just happens to be 10% alcohol. I'm back, he said, stating the obvious. Well, you can probably tell I'm already really liking this beer. Hide the label. A lot. And it's probably because it's got Belgian flavors to it, and I love Belgian beer. Well, and there's a reason Belgian beers are voted the best in the world. Because they're really good. And this is really good. Yes, I know when I look at scoring, it's, I'm not equally even-handed on all the beer, and I'll get to that in a bit. But this ticks all the boxes. The only one it wouldn't tick, I suppose, is not refreshing. It's not supposed to be. It's a Christmas seasonal ale that's strong, rich, complex, sweet, flavorful, well carbonated, but perfect, not overly fizzy. It's just not too hoppy. It's got all, for me, it's a perfect beer. So if you haven't all guessed already, this is the best beer I've had so far. 9.6. There you go. I would have given it higher, but there's always room for something else. So, because there probably are better beer out there. If somebody handed me one of my favorite Belgian beers, I'd probably give it that high or higher. 9.6. And there you have it. 24 days, 24 beer. And some really good, some a little confused, and a lot in between that are quite nice. Here is the parade of beer as I scored them. Here comes Anna with my parade of beer. Starting with the least favorite, the fresh hop Czech lager, the vegan beer out of Wolf Lake. Banana pie cream ale, which didn't know what it wanted to do, and some other okay beer in the 7s. Nothing extraordinary, but then we're getting on to the 8s, starting with the chocolate mint beeracle. That was fun. I like the Nicky Brow, the ginger was cool, the apple pie was fun. Love the Port Alberni Tickety Boo. Getting on to some really good collaborations. And wow, that bold Superflux beer. And the Belgian triple from Category 12 always pleases. And here we are in the top 5. Check it out. Bit of variety here between the Mexican lager, the Divine Cavination, the Porter, the Baltic Porter, and then of course the Christmas one. That was just great. Hope you enjoyed that. So in closing, once again, Cascadia have put on a great Advent calendar, and I'm so happy that David and Jared worked with me to produce my custom calendar for this year. It was fabulous. Guys, you did a great job picking the beer, and I'd be curious afterwards to see who picked what. Not that it really matters, because I don't even remember the ones I picked necessarily. But hey, it was a great time, and thank you. And for you guys watching this, I hope you have a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, etc., etc., and keep on drinking beer. Cheers!